You ever live through one of those blackouts that just feel wrong? Like, not just inconvenient or spooky, but unnatural? That was me, 3 years ago. And I swear on everything, something about that night never ended. It was early December, a Thursday night. The kind of cold that creeps into the walls and makes your house hum in strange ways. Our town sat on the edge of nowhere, 2 hours from the nearest city, population maybe 5,000. I was living alone for the first time, renting this tiny house on Birch Hollow Road. It was one of those old 1970s places that never felt fully warm no matter how high you turned the heat. The blackout started just after 9. I remember because I'd just put a frozen pizza in the oven when the whole place went dead. The heater clicked off, the fridge sighed, and the only sound left was the wind scraping against the siding. At first, I didn't think much of it. I lit a candle, checked my phone, full battery, no signal. Which was weird. Usually, even during storms, I could get a bar or two. But that night, the screen just said no service. The dark felt heavier than usual too. No glow from the neighbors' windows, no streetlights bleeding through the blinds, just total black, like the world beyond the candle didn't exist. I remember walking to the front window and trying to look out. Nothing. I could barely even make out my reflection in the glass. Then, something moved outside. Not in a way you'd notice at first, more like a ripple, a quick shift of shadow where there shouldn't be any. I froze. Listened. The wind had stopped. That's when I heard the knock. It wasn't at the door, it came from the wall. 3 short taps, slow and deliberate, right beneath the front window. I thought maybe it was a tree branch in the wind until it came again, this time farther down the wall, closer to the door. Tap, tap, tap. The sound was steady, like someone running their knuckles along the siding. My candle flickered, then went out. I tried the light switch instinctively. Nothing. I grabbed my phone, opened the flashlight, but the screen froze. It wouldn't respond to touch. I stood there in the dark, heart thudding, listening to the tapping crawl around the side of the house. I told myself it was probably an animal, a raccoon or something, but the sound was too deliberate. Too even. Then, silence. A minute passed. 2. And just when I started to breathe again, the tapping came from inside, somewhere near the kitchen. That's when the fear really hit, the kind that makes your body feel disconnected, like you're watching yourself from the outside. I grabbed the heaviest thing near me, a metal fireplace poker, and crept toward the sound. It came again, softer this time. Not a tap, more like fingers brushing against drywall. The air smelled strange, too. Not smoke, not gas, just old, like dust and copper. Hello. I called out. My voice cracked halfway through. No answer. Then, out of nowhere, the oven timer beeped. Just once, sharp and loud, even though the power was still out. I nearly dropped the poker. When I turned toward the kitchen, I saw the faint green glow of the oven clock, 12 o'clock. The numbers were flickering like they were trying to reset, but never did. That's when I noticed something behind the glass door of the oven. At first, I thought it was a reflection, but the longer I stared, the clearer it became. There was a hand pressed against the inside, pale, palm down, fingers spread wide. Then it pulled back. I stumbled backwards so fast I hit the counter. My heart was pounding out of my chest. The glow faded again, and the kitchen went black. For a few seconds, I couldn't move. I just stood there in the dark, gripping that fireplace poker like it could actually do something. Then the sound came back. But not tapping this time. Breathing. Slow, shallow breaths, coming from right behind the kitchen wall. It stayed like that for maybe 10 minutes, me frozen in the living room, that breathing never stopping, never moving. I didn't even realize I'd started whispering to myself, it's nothing, it's just the pipes. But deep down, I knew pipes don't breathe. When I finally worked up the nerve to go outside, the front door wouldn't open. The knob turned fine, but it felt like something heavy was leaning on it from the other side. I ran to the back door, same thing. All the windows were fogged from the inside, covered in condensation. I wiped one with my sleeve, trying to look out, and saw my front yard. At least, I thought I did. There were shapes standing out there. 3 of them, maybe 4. Perfectly still. No flashlights. No movement. Just dark silhouettes against darker trees. And every few seconds, one of them twitched, a small, jerky motion, like they were glitching in and out of sync with reality. That's when the candle on the counter relit itself. No flame had touched it. 1 second it was dark, the next it was burning again, but the fire was blue. The light made the whole kitchen glow in this eerie underwater tone, and I swear I could see shapes moving behind the walls, like shadows sliding under the wallpaper. And then, a whisper, right next to my ear. "It's not a blackout." I spun around so fast I nearly fell. Nothing there. But the voice, that voice sounded exactly like mine. I grabbed my phone again, hoping maybe the camera would still work. When I opened it, the screen showed the front yard, but it was wrong. The figures outside were closer. Much closer. And one of them was smiling. That's when I noticed something horrifying. The camera view showed my own face in the reflection of the window. Except I wasn't smiling. But the reflection was. And behind that reflection, standing directly behind me, was another face. I don't remember what happened next. I must have blacked out because when I came to, the sun was up. The lights were back on. Everything in the house looked normal, except for the kitchen. All the cabinets were open, every drawer pulled out, and on the oven door, smeared in ash or soot, were 5 fingerprints. Human-sized. The police said it was probably a break-in attempt, but there were no signs of forced entry, no footprints, no broken locks. They checked the power records too. No outage had been reported that night. And here's the part one can't explain. When I went to throw the pizza away, I noticed something. The inside of the oven wasn't warm. It was freezing cold. And there, at the very back, pressed into the metal, was a single, perfect handprint. Same as before. I moved out 3 days later. Sometimes, when it storms now, the lights in my new place flicker for a second. And every time they do, I swear I can smell that same metallic scent, dust, copper, and something like old breath. And every single time, I hear 3 slow knocks. Tap, tap, tap. Some people think silence is peaceful, but I learned that silence can listen back. And once it learns your voice, it never stops whispering. I've never liked thunderstorms. I grew up in Oklahoma, tornado country, so storms always meant power lines down, cars stuck in ditches, sirens in the distance. But the one that hit us last August wasn't like that. No wind, no lightning, just the sound of static, like the world's biggest radio detuning. I was renting the upstairs unit of an old Victorian house with my boyfriend, Caleb. It had been converted into 2 apartments, ours on top, a quiet retired couple below. The place always felt slightly crooked. Doors never shut right. The outlets made tiny popping sounds sometimes, especially at night. When the power went out that Friday evening, I wasn't surprised. The sky had that weird green tint that meant rain was coming. Caleb grabbed a flashlight, and I opened the windows to get a bit of air. The rain never came, though. Only the sound, a soft, fizzing hum, like static seeping through the walls. We figured it was the neighbor's old TV downstairs running off a generator or something. But when we checked, their windows were dark. That was the first hour. By the second, our phones had both died, not drained, but dead. Screens frozen, refusing to restart. Caleb joked about an EMP. I didn't laugh. Then the radio came on. It was an old digital clock radio that hadn't worked in months. The display was cracked, the button sticky, but at 9:47 p.m., the speaker hissed to life on its own. Just static at first, then a faint voice under it. We both froze. The voice was too quiet to understand, just syllables swimming in white noise, but it was definitely human. Caleb leaned closer, brow furrowed. Maybe it's emergency broadcast. I shook my head. The cadence was wrong. It wasn't a recording. It was whispering, repeating, "Don't let it hear you." The words came through warped and metallic, but clear enough to make my stomach drop. Caleb unplugged the radio. It kept talking. We shoved it in the closet, but the sound moved. We could still hear it faintly, like it was inside the walls. That was when the downstairs neighbor started banging on their ceiling, or maybe their floor, 3 hard knocks. Caleb yelled that everything was fine, but the knocking kept going, faster this time, then stopped. We didn't sleep that night. Every time we got close to drifting off, the static would return, faint at first, then louder until it filled the room like a pressure in the air. At some point after 2 a.m., Caleb got up to check the circuit box in the hallway. I heard him mutter something about a smell, like burnt plastic. Then he went quiet. "Caleb." I called. No answer. When I stepped into the hall, my phone buzzed, dead an hour ago, and a text appeared on the screen. It said, "Stay in bed. Don't look." The sender was Caleb. Except he was standing 10 feet in front of me, his back turned, perfectly still. I remember whispering his name again. He didn't move. Then the hallway lights flickered on for half a second, just long enough to see his reflection in the mirror at the end of the hall. He was smiling, wide, unnatural, but the real Caleb wasn't. The lights cut out again. The reflection kept smiling in the dark. I slammed the bedroom door and locked it. The radio started talking again, not words this time, but something like breathing. Morning came grey and silent. Caleb was gone. His phone, his keys, everything, gone. I ran downstairs, half-dressed, banging on the neighbor's door. No answer. The door swung open easily. Inside was black soot everywhere, coating the ceiling, the walls, even the furniture. Like something had burned without heat. The smell hit me first, ozone and rot. Then I saw the radio. Same brand as ours, same cracked display. Sitting on their table, still plugged in. It was whispering too. I remember backing away slowly, whispering, "No, no, no," like that could undo it. That's when my phone buzzed again. Another text from Caleb. "You heard it too, didn't you?" I typed back, "Where are you?" No response. Then, through the static, a voice that wasn't mine said from behind me, "He's listening." I turned around. No one there. But the radio laughed. Not a human laugh. More like the sound of tape tearing played backward. I bolted out the door. I stayed with a friend that night. Told her the power surge fried everything in my apartment. She offered to let me crash on her couch, and I didn't argue. But even there, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard that same static hiss, like it was leaking through the air vents. Around 3 a.m., her TV turned itself on. No picture, no sound, just the glow of the standby light. Then the static started again. Only this time, it wasn't from a speaker. It was coming from under the couch. I knelt down, trembling, and saw my phone lying there, screen on, glowing faint white. A text was typing itself out. "It needs a voice." Then another, "Yours." The phone shut off. I threw it across the room, but when it hit the wall, the static spilled out of it, faint, like breath, but spreading. That's when my friend, half asleep, mumbled from the other room, "Caleb? Is that you?" I didn't answer. I just grabbed my bag and ran out the door barefoot. I moved 2 states away after that. New phone, new number, new apartment, top floor, all new wiring, no old radios or clocks. For months, everything felt normal. Until one night in January, the lights flickered. Once, twice. Then the TV turned on by itself to a dead channel. And faintly, just for a moment, I heard it. That whisper, "Don't let it hear you." I smashed the screen with a hammer. Static sprayed across the glass like dust. But here's the thing, I recorded it on instinct. A single audio clip, less than 2 seconds long. And when I play it back, I swear there's something underneath the noise. A voice, low, layered, repeating the same sentence over and over. I never left the line. It loops every 11 seconds. I counted. And sometimes, when I play it too long, my phone freezes. Then, for a split second before it dies, the playback bar changes. It doesn't say audio file 1. It says incoming call, Caleb. Last week, I unplugged everything in the apartment, every cable, every charger, every speaker. I sleep with earplugs in now. But even through them, I can still hear it sometimes. That faint, crackling whisper. Like it's testing the walls, searching for the next wire. Sometimes I catch myself listening back. And that's when I realize the static stops when I breathe in. Like it's matching me. Like it's waiting. They say glass has memory. That it keeps impressions, light, heat, even faces. But no one tells you what happens when the glass remembers something it shouldn't. I bought my first house 2 years ago, a small fixer-upper at the end of a cul-de-sac in a quiet suburb. It wasn't perfect. The roof leaked, the basement smelled like wet cardboard, and the previous owner had painted every wall this sickly shade of yellow. But it was mine, and I was proud of it. The real estate agent called it a 1950s craftsman with character. That character, as it turned out, included strange cold spots, flickering lights, and a draft that somehow only came up the stairs. Still, I chalked it up to age. Old houses make noises, right? Everything changed the night the neighborhood lost power. It was late autumn, around 10 p.m., and I was sitting on the couch watching reruns when the TV blinked out. Every light in the house followed. The only sound was the refrigerator winding down like it was sighing. Outside, the street was pitch black. Not even the neighbors' security lights were on. I grabbed my phone to use as a flashlight. Battery, 82. But when I turned the light on, the beam looked dimmer than usual, like the darkness itself was swallowing it. Then I saw movement in the front window. Not outside, inside. It looked like a shadow sliding across the glass, from one edge to the other. I froze, convinced someone had broken in. But when I swept the beam across the room, there was no one there. I went closer to the window. My reflection looked off, delayed somehow, a split second behind my movements. And then, as I tilted the phone to see better, my reflection smiled. I didn't. I backed away fast enough to hit the coffee table. My phone slipped from my hand and hit the carpet, light facing the ceiling. Everything went black again. When I picked it up, the reflection was gone. I told myself I was tired. Stress, maybe. I'd been working long shifts at the hospital, sleeping less than 5 hours a night. Hallucinations happen. That's what I told myself until the power came back 30 minutes later, and the reflection was still smiling. I swear I saw its lips move. Just barely. Let me in. The glass fogged where its mouth was, as if someone had actually breathed against the other side. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I bought blackout curtains. But even with them closed, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The air near that window was colder than the rest of the room, and no matter how many times I wiped it down, faint handprints kept reappearing on the inside of the glass. finger marks that didn't match mine. Too long, too narrow. A few nights later, the power went out again. I remember because I'd just microwaved soup, and it was still steaming when everything went dark. This time I didn't move. I just sat there in the kitchen, waiting. The house made that low creaking noise old wood makes when the temperature drops. Then came the soft sound of glass flexing, like someone pressing their palm against it. I turned toward the window above the sink, and for a moment I saw it again, a faint outline in the reflection. But this time, it wasn't copying me. It was waving. Slowly, like it was testing how much it could move without breaking the surface. And then, a whisper, low, raspy, as if coming through layers of air. I remember you. I dropped the bowl. It shattered. The reflection didn't. It just kept waving. The next morning, I called an electrician. He checked everything, said the wiring was fine. Probably just the grid, he told me. You're on an old line. But as he was packing up, he stopped by the front window and frowned. You ever seen this before? He asked. I walked over. There were lines in the glass, faint but visible, forming almost like fingerprints. Except there were too many. The marks went from floor to ceiling, like dozens of hands had pressed against the inside of the pane. The electrician scraped at them with a razor, but they wouldn't come off. He just muttered something about old mineral stains and left. That night, I tried to stay somewhere else, a friend's place across town. But around 2 a.m., my friend's cat started hissing at the living room window. When I looked, I froze. The reflection staring back at me wasn't mine. It was my living room. The same couch, the same curtains, the same window. And in that reflection, something was standing behind the couch, tall, pale, its head tilted like it was listening. I shut the curtains and didn't sleep until dawn. I went back home the next day, determined to get rid of that window for good. I even called a contractor about replacing it with a wall. While waiting for him to call back, I started taping cardboard over the glass. But halfway through, the tape peeled itself off. I watched it, the strip lifting slow, curling into the air like something invisible was tugging from the other side. Then the reflection blinked. It had eyes now. I ran upstairs, slammed the bedroom door, and called the police. The dispatcher stayed on the line, told me to stay put until the officer arrived. While I waited, I heard footsteps downstairs. Soft at first, then heavier, moving toward the stairs. I whispered into the phone, "He's inside." The dispatcher said, "Stay calm. Our units are right outside your house." I looked out the window. There was no one there. Then I realized the line was dead. The phone screen was black, battery drained completely. And in the glass beside me, my reflection turned its head toward the hallway before I did. The next thing I remember is flashing lights and voices. A police officer shaking me awake on the bedroom floor. He said I'd called 911 and then gone silent. They'd found me passed out with every light in the house turned on, even though the power company still reported an outage on the entire block. They didn't find anyone else inside. But the window, they noticed it. One of the officers asked if I'd broken it myself. I said no, because I hadn't. The entire pane was spider-webbed with cracks, like something had pressed out from the inside trying to escape. And in the center, perfectly clear, was a face. Not etched, not printed, imprinted. Like something had been staring through from another side for too long and burned its outline into the glass. It looked exactly like me. I replaced the window the next week. Brand new pane, new frame, sealed tight. For a while, everything was fine. Until a month later, when I was cleaning the floor and noticed something glinting in the sunlight. Tiny shards of glass, in a perfect circle near where the old pane had been. I brushed them away, but when I looked closer, There were more, scattered like someone had sprinkled them from the air. And on the inside of the new window, fog. A handprint. Smaller this time. Right in the middle. I don't turn off the lights anymore. I leave a lamp running 24 hours a day, sometimes two, because the reflection only moves when it's dark. I've caught it staring when the bulbs flicker, just faint enough to see its mouth moving. I can't hear what it says yet, but last week, during a storm, I recorded a video on my phone. Just a short clip of the window to prove I wasn't crazy. When I played it back, the reflection spoke. Only 2 words. Almost through. Now I sleep with blankets over the mirrors, foil on the windows, anything to block it out. But sometimes I still hear faint scratching against the glass, like nails tracing the edges. And when the power goes out, because it always does eventually, I see it. Waiting. Smiling. Like it remembers me better than I remember myself. If you ever move into an old house and feel a draft by the window, don't touch the glass. Because once it catches your reflection, it never forgets. And one day, when the lights go out, it won't be your face staring back. It'll be the one that's been waiting for you all along. You're home now.